In this lesson, we'll be learning how to multiply fractions and mixed numbers. Our first question is 2/3 multiplied by 1/5. I'm going to use this rule number 3 here that says multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. So it's quite simple. 2 times 1 is equal to 2. 3 times 5 is equal to 15. I need to check and see if this fraction can be simplified. If there's any number apart from 1 that can go into both 2 and 15, then it can be simplified. Since there is not, this is the final answer, 2/15. Now let's look at the second question. Again, I'm going to apply my rule number 3, which says multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. So 3 times 2 is 6, and 4 times 5 is 20. I can tell that this fraction is not simplified because 2 can go into both 6 and 20. So I'm going to go ahead and divide both numbers by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. This fraction is now simplified and the final answer is 3/10. Now we're going to look at these two questions. The first one says 5/6 multiplied by 9. I want to multiply my numerators and denominators, but this number 9 does not have a denominator. It's very simple. If you have a whole number, you can simply put it over 1 and it does not change the value. This is because this over sign means the same as division, and 9 divided by 1 gives you 9, so it's the same value. So now that I have this denominator, I can apply my rule number 3. 5 times 9 is 45, and 6 times 1 is 6. Now I'm going to see if I can simplify this fraction. I can because 3 can go into both 45 and 6. So I'm going to divide both numbers by 3. 45 divided by 3 gives me 15, and 6 divided by 3 gives me 2. This is an improper fraction that I'm now going to change to a mixed number by saying how many times does 2 go into 15? The answer is 7. It gives me a remainder of 1 over 2. If you have any misunderstandings on simplifying fractions and changing improper fractions to mixed numbers, you can check my previous videos. Let's have a look at this second question. It says 2/3 times 7. Again, we're going to make this 7 a fraction by putting it over 1, because 7 divided by 1 is still 7. And then we're going to apply our rule, multiply the numerators. 2 times 7 is 14, and 3 times 1 is 3. Our improper fraction or top-heavy fraction, we're going to change that to a mixed number by asking how many 3's go into 14. 3 times 4 is 12. We have a remainder of 2, and our denominator remains the same. Now we're going to look at 2 more questions. I'm going to show you that it's easier to simplify if possible before actually doing the calculations of multiplying the numerators and the denominators. Let's look at this second question, for example. Working out 25 times 27 is going to give us a very big number. So simplifying before makes it a lot easier. So we'll go back to the first question. You can simplify any numerator with another denominator. For example, I can say that 6 and 12 have a common factor of 6. 6 goes into 6 once, and 6 goes into 12 2 times. And I can look at the 7 and the 14, and I notice they both have a common factor of 7. 7 goes into 7 once, and 7 goes into 14 2 times. Now I've simplified, and I can simply apply rule number 3, which is multiply my numerators. 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 2 is 4. So my final answer is 1/4, and I've saved myself a lot of problems with working with these big numbers and simplifying afterwards. So I'm going to show you that one more time. We can look at 25 and 36, and we can say that these two numbers do not have a common factor apart from 1, so we can't simplify. So I'm going to compare the 25 to the 40, which is one of the numerators with one of the denominators, and they both have a common factor of 5. So I'm going to simplify these two numbers. 5 goes into 25 5 times, and 5 goes into 40 8 times. Now I'm going to look at 27 and 36. And I can see that they both have a common factor of 9. I know that 9 goes into 27 3 times, and 9 goes into 36 4 times. And I'll have another look, and there's nothing else that can be simplified. So then I apply my rule number 3. I multiply my numerators. 5 times 3 is 15. And then I multiply my denominators. 4 times 8 is 32. And this is my final answer, and this cannot be simplified. So it's 15 over 32. Finally, let's look at multiplying mixed numbers. So now I'm going to look at rule number 1, and I'm going to convert mixed numbers to improper fractions. So as we've learned previously, to change a mixed number to an improper fraction, we do the whole number times the denominator. So 2 times 3 is 6. We add the numerator, that gives us 8. And the denominator remains the same. The second one, 1 times 5 is 5, plus 4 is 9, and the denominator remains the same. So 2 2/3 times 1 4/5 is the same as 8 over 3 times 9 over 5. Then I'm going to simplify if possible. So the 8 and the 3, nothing can be simplified. So I'm going to look at the 8 and the 5. That can't be simplified. And finally the 9 and the 3. And I can see that they both have a common factor of 3. So I'm going to divide them both by 3. 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 goes into 3 once. Finally, I multiply my numerators. 8 times 3 is 24. And I multiply my denominators. 1 times 5 is 5. This is an improper fraction, so now I'm going to change it to a mixed number. 5 goes into 24 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. There is a remainder of 4, and my denominator remains the same. So my final answer is 4 4/5. Here are some questions for you to try. When you're ready, pause the video and have a go. And when you're finished and ready for the answers, press play. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for weekly videos, and you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook.